Greetings and thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate you so much. My name is Dr. Jeanette DeWitt. I am a doctor of physical therapy, and today I want to talk with you about the 3 reasons why aches and pains become chronic. Number 1, poor nutrition. Number 2, you're out of symmetry or out of alignment. And number 3, you have some type of physical impairment or impediment, something like a restriction. Let's break this down a little bit. So number 1, poor nutrition. There's a few factors that happen with poor nutrition. Number 1 is that it could be not that you're not eating enough. Now, this is really common in the athlete population, but it's also common in people who are trying to lose weight. If you're trying to lose weight and you're not actually taking in enough calories, number 1, you'll go into starvation mode. Number 2, you will not be able to lose weight because your body is going to hoard the calories that you're taking in. So the first reason that someone with poor nutrition won't get rid of aches and pains is because they're not eating enough. Number 2, you are not eating the right kind of food. There are foods that create inflammation in your body. There are foods that are anti-inflammatories to your body. So if you're eating a high-processed, a lot of fatty, fried foods, you are adding inflammation to your body, which creates what we call systemic inflammation. And when you have systemic inflammation, your body cannot heal itself, and you will develop chronic aches and pains over time. Now, if you have a fried meal once a week, or you eat fast food once every couple of weeks, yeah, you might be a little bit inflamed. You might have some joint swelling for that particular day or the next, but chronically over time, that's not going to do much. So I'm a big believer of the 80-20 diet. 80% of the time, we eat as good as we can. The other 20%, we eat what we want in moderation. Number 3, regarding diet or nutrition, if you are not eating at the right time. For example, a lot of people skip breakfast. If you skip breakfast, you are missing one of the most important meals of the day. With breakfast, you are breaking your fast. You've been sleeping all night, and if you don't have food in you, your blood glucose is going to be lower. If you don't have food in you, your muscles aren't going to want to perform as well. You might feel tired, lethargic, or you might crash and burn later in the day because you are going to experience cravings and you're going to end up eating everything in sight, and then that's not good either. So the timing of your food. If you're an athlete, if you don't eat within 30 minutes after your athletic practice or your competition, you are missing out on a very small window of time where you can rebuild your muscle and restore the glucose or the carbohydrate in your muscle so you can properly recover. If you continue to do that, you will build up inflammation, your muscles aren't going to recover, and you will experience tightness, heavy legs, a feeling of like you just can't move as fast. And if you're a runner or an athlete where time is important, then your times will actually plummet and slow down as the season goes on. And then the 4th reason that nutrition is such a factor is if you overeat. Now, if you are sedentary, if you do not exercise, and you are eating the wrong kind of foods, this is a recipe for disaster because you're going to add weight. And for every pound you add, it's actually 3 pounds of force on your body. Therefore, if you're just 10 pounds overweight, you're adding 30 pounds of force to your joints and spine. Over time, this is the equivalent of just 10 pounds overweight, 30 pounds of force. That is like carrying 2 bowling balls in each hand. That means every time you go to get in and out of the shower, every time you go up and down stairs, every time you sit down and stand up off the toilet, you are carrying and lugging these bowling balls around. I don't know anybody who would want to be carrying a 15-pound bowling ball in each hand all day long for the rest of their life if they're just 10 pounds overweight. So as you can see, if you don't eat enough, if you don't eat the right kinds of foods, if you don't eat at the right time, and if you eat too much, that you're gaining weight when you shouldn't be, meaning you're not at a healthy body weight. These are all contributing to poor nutrition, which contributes to inflammation in your body and creates chronic aches and pains. The second reason that you might be experiencing chronic aches and pains is you are out of alignment. Now, there's a couple ways to solve that problem, actually more than 2 ways to solve that problem. You can go to a chiropractor, receive an adjustment, or what they call subluxations. This can help restore the alignment in your body. Number 2, you can go to someone like myself who's a physical therapist, and we can do something similar through mobilizations. Number 3, you could go to a massage therapist and work out the muscle aspect of that tightness and that malalignment. And number 4, you can also use movement or specific exercises. For example, I teach total motion release. It was created by Tom DeLonzo Baker. And basically, I'm teaching you how to fix yourself, bring yourself back into symmetry, and help you restore your alignment on your own. I'm one of 10 master clinicians in the country who are allowed to teach this technique. And because Tom trusts me to teach it the way he taught it. And this is an amazing type of technique because you don't have to go anywhere, but you need to know which movements to do. You need to know how to test yourself, and then the movements to treat yourself and restore the symmetry in your body. And when I'm talking about symmetry, I'm talking about restoring the muscles in the front of the body relative to the muscles in the back of the body, as well as the muscles on one side of the body compared to the muscles on the other side of the body. When you restore muscular symmetry, you can influence the joints in your body as well. So that's the second reason someone might experience chronic aches and pains, is because you're just out of alignment or out of symmetry. And I will tell you, in my 25 plus years practicing as a physical therapist, that is probably, other than nutrition, probably one of the key reasons that people aren't getting better is because their body is out of symmetry. The third reason that someone may be experiencing chronic aches and pains is you have a physical impediment or a physical restriction. What that means is that your muscles are tight. You have a trigger point in your muscle, or you have a muscle knot, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But basically, it can be as small as a grain of rice and wreak complete havoc. Think about a drop of water dropping into a glass, and it creates a ripple. That little drop of water creating a ripple is like a grain of sand in your muscle. If you have a grain of sand and it is restricting the tissue, that will cause the muscle to bunch up. That means you don't have access to those muscle fibers because they're all knotted up, kind of like what I'm doing right now. It gets all tense and tight, and it doesn't feel too good. What does it feel like to you? It feels like your muscles are tight. It feels like you're tense. It feels like, oh, I'm just irritable. And if you're an athlete, it may come across as heaviness because the number one sign of a trigger point is not pain, it's actually weakness. Let me explain how that works. If you have a muscle, this is how long it is. This is optimal. This is what you're looking for it to function properly. To function properly, it has to contract and relax. Contract and relax. If you have a trigger point, even as small as a grain of rice, and it's bunching the muscle up, that muscle is already shortened. It's already contracted. So when you try to contract and do work, it doesn't have very far to go. And if it doesn't have very far to go, it's not very efficient and just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So what do you think? You think, oh, I'm going to stretch, except you can't stretch because you have a physical restriction that you have to physically intervene to get the restriction out. I'll explain that in a minute. But if you try to stretch and you have a physical restriction, that muscle isn't going anywhere. It's not going to elongate. So what do we do? Well, you can go to a massage therapist, you can go to a physical therapist, or you can learn how to do total motion release like I talked about, or you can learn how to do self-myofascial release using like a massage stick or a foam roller or a self-massage tool like a little ball or a tennis ball, lacrosse ball, something of that nature to intervene and basically melt that tissue back and get that trigger point out of there. Once that trigger point is out of there, you can go back to shortening or contracting and relaxing or stretching. Then you will be able to function at your best. So there you have it. You have 3 reasons why you may be experiencing chronic aches and pains. Number 1 was poor nutrition. Number 2 was being out of symmetry. And number 3 was actually having a physical restriction within your soft tissue, like your muscles. None of that is going to feel very good. And if you have all 3 things going on, you are going to have chronic aches and pains that feel like they're never going away. Regardless of you trying to exercise, regardless of you trying to stretch, it's not going to feel like it's getting better. If this resonates with you, if this makes sense to you, go ahead and just make some comments in the feed because I want to hear from you. If you are struggling with chronic aches and pains, go ahead and say me in the feed or just private message me. I'm happy to get back with you. Thanks a lot, and I hope this has given you value today. I hope it's given you some valid information that can help you start to think about, I've been experiencing chronic aches and pains. There is something that I can do about that without seeking medication or scheduling a bunch of appointments. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I appreciate you. And if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and just say replay in the comments below. Thanks a lot.